Hello and welcome to Trust Your Glitter podcast. This is Kristy, and I am here with the astrology of the week of January the 15th through the 21st. I want to say that this is a very pivotal week, and so I'm going to point out some of the aspects and transits that are ahead, but just know that this is one of those times that is a generational marker week. And I think it's very symbolic that we're opening up the week on a holiday, Martin Luther King Day. So I just want to say, many celebrations, love, and peace out there, especially as we see the world going through some very big shifts. And I just want to say love to everybody who's listening to this podcast this week. I want to say that this week we're shifting astrological seasons. We're going from the season of Capricorn to the season of Aquarius, the Water-Bearer. So I want to point that out that this week we're going to feel a lot of change. We're also going to see things as a collective. And this also points us back into 2023. So we're going to have also Pluto re-enter the sign of Aquarius as well. And so I'm going to point that out in the beginning before we get into the weekly transits and aspects, because it is about the broader view. And so as we kind of are stepping back from our emotions, we're also kind of looking at things from a different perspective, even from March 23rd of 2023, when Pluto first entered the sign of Aquarius. So I want to point that out as I go through this podcast, because we have very few transits of the week. We do have Mercury we did have Mercury enter the sign of Capricorn on Sunday, January the 13th. So our mind is going to a very serious state. It is looking at what's going on. And especially, last week when we saw South Africa, really point out what's going on, in Gaza. This is kind of that really serious tone and note, and saying this is real stuff that's happening, and people are being deeply affected, harmed, and hurt. So I also want to point that out astrologically as we look at the week ahead, because this is going to build upon itself, especially because Pluto has been vacillating between the sign of Aquarius since March 23rd of 2023 through the 11th of June of 2023. And Pluto, the great transformer, is in the sign of Aquarius from January 20th through November 19th of this year. And then we'll see this again as we head through into 2025. So this is in the US an election year, but I know that this podcast goes out internationally. And so I want to shout out everybody around the world that does listen. And I want to say thank you so much for your listenership. Peace and love to everybody out there. So as we look at the astrology and as we look at the greater collective, I also want to point out some of the aspects that we're looking at for this week that I think are very important to note. On the 15th, there are some tense aspects. We have Saturn semi-square the nodes. We have a nice sextile with the Sun in Capricorn with Neptune. So that's kind of a harmonious friendship energy between the solar purpose and our soul's purpose. And then we have Venus sesquiquadrate Jupiter, which Venus and Jupiter have been having some tense energy even as Venus kind of transits the sign of Sagittarius. But really it's been asking us, like, where are we going big and where are we kind of sinking into our old ways? So we're being shaken up from the inside out. And this theme kind of is shown throughout society as well. I also want to point out that on the 17th, Mercury is sesquiquadrate Uranus. Again, this is kind of this inner shaking, feeling almost like if we think of like an earthquake, it's those shock waves that are going through our system. We might not know the answer to something, but we definitely feel like something is going on. And then on the 18th, we have Mercury sextile Saturn, which is really nice. It's about our purpose and it's about our mind. So there is like almost like a recalibration, and it's happening, and it's like we get that if you think of like a singing bowl, it's like the bowl gets hit this week, but the vibrations keep moving out and out and out and out and further out and further out and further out. So this week marks a pivotal point, and I would even say a start to a new generational cycle or a new generational pattern that is pointed out as well. I also want to say circle the dates of the 19th and 20th. The 19th, we have a gorgeous trine between Mercury and Capricorn and Jupiter and Taurus. I love it. Very creative aspect. Very beautiful aspect to have. And we also have on the same day, the 19th, we've seen these squares with Mercury twice because Mercury was retrograde. Venus at 25 degrees Sagittarius, square to Neptune. So the 19th, just circle this date, but the next day when we go into the 20th, right before the sun enters Aquarius, we have a conjunction between the sun and Capricorn at 29 degrees and Pluto at 29 degrees Capricorn. So on the exact same day, we have it's very synchronistic for one, but it's also saying like this is kind of a marker of what did we learn from 2008 all the way up till now. So I'll give you the times, and this is set at Eastern Standard Time. 8:46 a.m. we have this exact solar conjunction between the sun and Pluto. So that's 8:46 a.m. And then on the same day at 9:07 a.m. So the sun enters Aquarius. And then later on in that day, Eastern Standard Time, 7:56 p.m., Pluto follows and enters the sign of Aquarius. So the conjunction, Cazimi, because it's a solar conjunction, sticks with us on the 20th. We're feeling the buildup. We're probably in the buildup right now as I record this. But a conjunction of this nature before Pluto even enters a new sign is a very big deal. So this week is a big deal. And we're seeing this big deal around the world. We're seeing, protests in Yemen. We're seeing all of these things because Aquarius is the sign of the collective. But Aquarius also represents that of the wisdom of the water-bearer. Aquarius is a fixed sign. However, when you think about holding, vessels or jugs of water and you're in a fixed position, the water is still malleable. The water is still moving. So it's the wisdom that comes through experience. And think back in your personal life to March 23rd of 2023 all the way through June 11th of 2023 and how much you've learned about yourself and just life in general, transformative experiences in society, how the grander scale is shifting for everybody, and seeing what it's like with the power structures, the power systems, questioning authority. Pluto and Capricorn was meant to demolish systems that were inherently hierarchical, that did not include everybody, that were really only for a specific group of people, where as we look at Pluto and Aquarius, that will be vacillating, this year for us. This is allowing for the collective family to find its way. And with Aquarius being labeled as the weird, unique, innovative sign, I would also argue Aquarius is here to be ahead of their time. Aquarius is here to, go against the grain and really say, you know what? We're here for everybody. We're here for evolution. We're here to help. We're here to be communal. We're here to be kind. We're here to be a family in a way that includes, it's like saying we can't keep our head in the sand, especially for those who are listening and affected by the fact that the world is shifting before our very eyes. And it's really up to us to either say, we can no longer stand for this anymore, or for those who just do not want to shift and change. So it's really up to us. And we have a long range, shift in this matter. So I also want to point out that this week is of many. This week is welcoming in a new season. However, as we welcome in this new season, it's also welcoming in a new idea on how society needs to either evolve past its current rate, or else we're going to have to see some big questions in general. So I want to say, for those who listen in the US, this for us is marking the time of, we're going to see this back and forth with Pluto. And it is interesting that our election cycle and Pluto are kind of in alignment with one another. We're basically going to have an election cycle with Pluto back into the sign of Capricorn. So this week also marks, like, if you're a US listener, kind of see what's going on the greater scale of what's going on with candidates and different political parties. On an international scale, I want to also shout out to anybody listening, where you are feeling the world deeply and you are, understanding that we're all connected. I'm listening, I'm trying and watching and trying to be a better citizen of this world as well. And for me, the language of astrology is very helpful, but the solutions are a collective solution. So this is a short and sweet episode this week. It is a bigger season though. And, my words might not span over a half an hour this week, but the effects of what we're going to see this week are lasting, and they definitely hold forward, like where leadership is involved, especially with the North Node in Aries, taking into account that when we did see Pluto enter the sign of of Aquarius the first time, the sun was in the sign of Aries. And now I think it's very symbolic that, on the exact same day that the solar energy enters a new astrological season, Pluto is also being welcomed back into Aquarius. So I'm looking at a sign right now that says, "Welcome to our home." So I feel like Pluto is being welcomed to a new home. So have a great week ahead. Be safe out there, and lots of love.